Pakistan's government has fined 10 local television news stations 10 crore Pakistan rupees for airing excessive Indian content is the breaking news that we're getting to you right now. 10 television stations in Pakistan, all news stations have been fined by the Broadcast Administration Agency in Pakistan for playing excessive India-centric content. Is the war on culture that now defines Pakistan's narrow and inward-looking attitude towards India. 10 crore rupees is the fine that's been slapped on 10 channels that apparently played too much content that was focused on India. Let's go straight across to headlines. Today's Hamza Amir joining us live from Islamabad. Hamza, what is this all about? 10 crore rupees, a fine for playing too much India-centric content. What is this really about?
Well, Shiv, what happened was a few months back, Pakistan's Electronic Media Regulation Authority was the one who actually issued notices to these channels telling them that as per rule of the defined electronic media in Pakistan, 40% of the content should be, local, and 60% should be local and 40% should be, non-local content that should be played. While they actually observed that some of the channels were actually using more space of their timing or within 24 hours, using and showing Indian content primarily, and that is where now 10 of these channels have been actually fined with 10 crore rupees of fine by PEMRA, and they have also notified them that the further bans can also be applied if they do not follow the orders of the regulatory authority as far as airing of content is concerned. But the important point is that Pakistan does not only air Indian content, they also air Turkish content and dramas also. But the only question that was raised was by the name and naming it to be Indian content, which is basically very, very interesting, that why would PEMRA actually identify India as someone who can be actually negated and, highlighted as a breach of regulation, while Turkish content cannot be actually given the same sort of a limelight. So that is somewhere that PEMRA needs to actually come up with an actually explanation that why would Indian content, primarily being focused as Indian content, should be actually banned in Pakistan.
Have any of these channels responded to this move by the Pakistan government, Hamza?
No, not yet. But what I've heard from a few channels is that they will be actually going to the courts, putting up a challenge against these orders from PEMRA, so that they can actually walk away by not paying the fine, and also they want to justify that they are following the rules of PEMRA and they're not violating it. And Indian content is something that is also part of the details that are actually aired on Pakistani TV channels, and that is why they should not be banned and they should not be stopped from airing Indian content in Pakistan.
This is going to come as a real piece of disturbing news for people in Pakistan, Hamza, because at the end of the day, this is going to be looked at as a kind of big brother, a kind of censorship that keeps Pakistan isolated so that people don't get to see what news channels want to tell them.
Well, yes, I tell you, over here, the people who are learned and who actually watch good television are not very comfortable with this decision coming in from PEMRA. They already have been blaming PEMRA for not actually focusing on the priorities internally and domestically that should be addressed as far as regulation is concerned, while only focusing on, content like Indian dramas and Indian movies being played. Not to forget, Pakistan is also a very strong market for Indian content, and there is a lot of viewership that the channels actually are able to inherit by airing these content. So there is also a very, very positive business propagation coming in from that same content as well. So such kind of a ban actually does not seem like workable. But yes, a fine of 10 crores is something that is big, and PEMRA might be able to make some money out of it.
Hamza, just stay with me for a moment. I also want to go across to Rishabh Gulati, who's been tracking this story very closely. Rishabh, here in India, the government, we have to say, is seldom happy or, okay with what news channels actually broadcast. But what we're seeing happen in Pakistan is obviously the other end of the spectrum. I mean, India and Pakistan can never be compared as far as press feed freedom is concerned. And this is really a manifestation of just how different the two countries really are.
It's a manifestation, absolute. Not to say, Shiv, that censorship is not followed in India. We do know that Pak national channels, the telecast in India is banned. But remember, this is not about news. This is not about opinion. This is about culture. Most of the programs that these Pakistani channels air are soaps. This is cultural censorship any more than it is news censorship. We can understand a different in opinion about news coverage from one side of the border to the other side of the border.
Yes.
That can be understandable, but cultural censorship is the worrying factor, and that's the point perhaps that Hamza has been making.
Yes.
That these news channels air not only Indian content, they air Turkish content, but also air Turkish content. But it's the fact that the Indian-specific cultural content has been sort of by de facto banned by fining these channels a ridiculous 10 crore amount. That's the worrying fact, Shiv.
I think when it's a good time to recall what Salman Rushdie had once said at the India Today conclave. If you ever feel that things are bad in India, just look across the border. They're infinitely worse in your nearest neighbor. Thanks, Rishabh and Hamza, for getting us that perspective on this worrying story of anti-India cultural censorship in Pakistan.